So unfortunately, like I think we've seen that in America, a lot of conservative evangelicals have been sort of downplaying the threat of the virus. Even I mean, the media highlights certain examples of churches and pastors that refuse to comply with the stay-at-home orders and continue to meet, in person and whatnot. So I'm wondering, like, do you find similar strains of thoughts among Christians in China where people kind of dismiss or downplay? What is it about America or American Christianity that makes this kind of uniquely a challenge?
The simple answer is no, we don't see that here in China among the Christians. We don't see that among the non-Christians. We really don't. And I was talking to some people about why that is, and my own wife. And I think that in America, sometimes certain aspects of Christianity get conflated with like other things. And like, for example, in the States, right? I think that there's this pursuit of happiness that is written into the DNA of our culture in the States, that it's a fundamental human right? Life, liberty, right? And sort of this pursuit of our own happiness. And I think a lot of the fatigue and the frustration and like all these reactions come from the idea that we should be happy all the time and enjoy the maximum amount of happiness, and whether the happiness is from freedom or whatever, sort of all the time. And there's high expectations of our own comfort, quote unquote, in that way, if you will, right? And I think that to an extent, Chinese people and people from other cultures are able to process through things like restrictions and stuff like that better, because there's not the same type of expectation that we will be happy all the time, right? There's not that expectation. Like in a lot of Asian cultures, like recent history has been one of pain and struggle and severe trauma, right?
Famine,
right? Yeah, famine, like huge things that have blessedly not happened in the States, right? And I'm not wishing that it does, and it is God's provision and blessing that it hasn't. However, I think that we live in this false expectation of what the world, this fallen world, is actually like, right? It's not heaven. We can't expect heaven to the extent that we expect that this world is heaven. To that same extent, there will be idolatry and people, right? Like, it's not, this world ain't heaven, and it's not gonna be, right? And so, I think that there's this value in this pursuit of happiness that has something to do with like the way people are not able to accept that kind of restriction.
Yeah.
What do like, I'm sure the Christians out there are they aware of how Christians are acting out here? Like, pastors who refuse to like close their doors, things like that.
I mean,
if they are aware,
Korea.
how do they view that? What do they think? What are you guys thinking out there? Especially like maybe the locals.
Well, a lot of Christians are viewing, are taking a look at that and seeing that Christianity is conflated with other things.
So it's really clear, I guess, in China, like from your outside perspective.
Clear. Yeah, and I'm not saying that Christians can't be political or that we can't translate our faith into the culture, because we can and we should, right? I'm not saying that we should, be drawing those bright lines necessarily. We should be living out our faith in all of the ways, and the places that God has put us in. But like, I think that I know that Christians here take a look at what's happening in the States and go, wow, it's kind of, some concepts are getting combined, right? And I think that the American church might be wise to kind of take a look at that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to say, okay, well, have we been conflating it? Are we conflating it? How can we kind of deconstruct this a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think there's a reason why the church is like exploding here in China, right? And the faith and the gospel is exploding here in China. And I don't know that it's doing the same thing. I haven't been in the States for 7 years, right? But at least up until the point I left, right, we were struggling in the American church with huge decline, right? Like when people graduate from high school,
Right.
Yep.
right? People stop going to church,
It's
right?
worse
And people, yeah, and people find that, so I think this is there's some serious questions that we as the American church have to ask ourselves.
It's like our faith has been syncretized with maybe some of, like, I don't know, some of the other values that are just in our popular culture.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be, right? It should.
Yeah.
But which one are we going to be pushing,
Mhm.
right? What are we
Yeah.
going to be pushing at the end of the day, right? It's not legislation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Necessarily,
Mhm.
right? Okay, I'm not saying that you're right. There are people who show up to do that. I'm going to get in trouble. But you know
I
what I'm
gotcha,
saying? Like
gotcha.
at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
What is the worldview that God has given us, right?
Right.
The examples that God has given us in the Bible, are struggle, right, and pain, and we need to be able to address people's real struggle and real pain. Yeah.